Guys, without further ado, we are going to get this podcast underway. Welcome. Cool, guys. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, here sitting on my left, one of our mates, Juddles, is here to chat with us about, basically what we're talking about today is basically we called it capacity can fuck off, and I thought bringing Judd in for this would be actually quite nice as an avid party goer, as someone who loves going out and getting a fat raven. So I mean, it'll be quite an interesting discussion. I'll be speaking from the perspective of me hosting events and organizing, and getting the opinion from Judd, who enjoys going out. I think it's going to be quite a controversial topic. I think I say that every single week about every topic. But I know there will be certain people who will be on the fence. There'll be people who are for away, like, fuck this capacity, just open shit up. And there's going to be people who are, Corona's real, guys, don't be stupid. But I think it'll be an interesting topic, obviously, as we kind of moving into the December period.
Yeah, I mean, this whole capacity thing, it's like weird, very inconsistent. Like I was just speaking earlier before we went live, I mean, I can go into a restaurant, I have to have a mask in to enter, but I mean, as soon as I go into the actual restaurant, I can take my mask off, and then all of a sudden I'm like in a COVID-free zone, so it's like very inconsistent. But at the same time, this whole capacity thing for like nightlife, such a tough one, because the COVID thing, it is real, and it like is happening, and I don't know, man, it's like I don't know.
Yeah, I think coming from my side, there's 2 points that I can bring up, and to an extent they are quite contradictory in what they are. But the one side where I'm like, capacity can seriously fuck off, because, okay, sweet, if your venue can hold 500 people, you put 250 people in there, as long as you're 249 or 250 people, like, Corona's not going to spread. It's going to go back home and say, guys, we can't go here, this is illegal, or this is a legal rave, so it's not going to happen. But then in the same sense of saying that, there is the side that you increase your probability in people. If you just take a random, let's just make up a stat of, 1 in every 300 people have Corona. If you have 250, chances are one person might have it. 1,000 people, chances are 3 people could have it. But I mean, if this virus is as deadly and as contagious and as widespreading as they say, then it doesn't matter if it's 1 person, 3 people, 5 people, 100 people, it's going to spread.
Yeah, that's true, man. I mean, like, also, it's so like good on paper, these rules and regulations, but when you go out in nightclubs, like I was out last week in Greenhouse, and when you're there's actually no like rules at all. There's no regulations, as if COVID doesn't exist. And I mean, I think that place would have only got in trouble if someone actually had to look and be like, okay, there's no rules and regulations here. So it's very hard to govern, especially, I mean, like, especially in the whole of South Africa, like the whole of America, as you can see in Europe, like people doing what they want. And I think that's also half the problem. Like if you look in Japan, like people follow the rules and regulations like strict, and you don't see their COVID numbers rise because of people, follow the government. But I think that's also to do with like culture, that side, they want to follow like rules and regulations, where more Western side, I feel it's like less able to follow rules and regulations, as you can see in America and Europe and here, So I don't think in a place like South Africa it's easy to govern, or it's like, and I think December, with these numbers rising, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen, because I don't know how it's going to.
And I mean, coming back to, let's say, what you're saying with governing it, it kind of falls on the, you go out, it's no mask, no entry. So as you're going through the door, you put your mask on. As soon as you get in, you take one step and your mask comes off. You look around, there's 40 people squashed, packed on the dance floor, sweating on each other, sneezing, breathing, coughing. Everyone's kissing everyone. So, I mean, in the sense of governing it, it is also, pointless, because us South Africans, we love to party, we love to go hard, we love to drink, we love to hook up with each other. So it doesn't matter if you've got 50 people, 100 people, or 500 people, when in one night, 3 people are kissing 3 people are kissing 3 people, and like nearly the whole club's kissed each other.
Then, like, the only thing I see, like, I think the only concern I have, because obviously I live with my dad at home, and he's older in terms of age, and he has like prior conditions, like so when I look at it that side, I've got to remember, and I know close friends who have lost still parents and family members, and even like friends and whatever. And when you think about it like that, it's also, that's when it hits a bit more home, when it's someone and but at the same time, when it's not being governed like we say, it makes it very hard to follow the rules by yourself when you see everyone else going out to do what they want. So I don't know, is like Rage and that's still on for this?
Yeah, Rage is still happening. I've just been seeing a few posts and stuff. I think it's happening mid-December, or kind of first week of December into second week of December. And I mean, do you really think kids are going to follow those restrictions? Like, I mean, let me not throw myself out there, or put myself in the spotlight, but like the amount of girls that I hooked up with on Matric Rage, like I'd be fucked if it were now, like so I mean, yeah, it's kind of where I'm sitting on the fence, is like, and I'd probably say I'm not even on the fence, I'm definitely leaning more to capacity's useless, is it's gonna happen. People are gonna go out regardless of rules and regulations and laws that you put on it. People are still gonna do what the fuck they want to do.
That's so true. Also with like our age group, like, I mean, it's a bit tricks of this year. They've had a tough year as well. Like, they're gonna go, regardless if it's like Rage organized or not. People are gonna go out, organize their own house parties. It's like gonna be non-COVID regulated anyway. So regardless of capacity or not, I don't think it's gonna help much. Yeah, for me, that effective,
Yeah, it's so true, man. And like, even just taking the mindset and let's just call it the culture of South Africans in December, there's no ways from age 16 to age 40, whatever you want to call it, from the 1st of December till whenever, or when do people go off, the 16th of December till whenever they go back to work, there's not a chance that people aren't going to do things. They're not going to go out. They're not going to have a huge bender for New Year's. I mean, so the thing is, it now falls to, like, since people are actually going to do it regardless of what the hell the government says or what the hell the government does, then why put the regulations on the nightclubs? Like, they're just the ones who suffer. If cops are going to come in and shut places down, and they're going to be mindful and watching and all of that stuff, like, I mean, our industry has already been fucked. I mean, apart from possibly the airline and tourism, our industry's been fucked the hardest this whole corona, this whole pandemic. And I mean, December is the most fruitful period for any event organizer, for anyone in the industry. Especially, there's a whole culture that goes into it, and the mindset of December, that's the reason, South Africa's like one of the few countries that give a 13th paycheck. Like, here you go fucking ham and go boss.
I'm not getting it this year because of COVID, thanks. But yeah, bro, but also at the same time, like, you see like America, right? And there'd be no regulations. Like, I heard stories of varsities or like universities like Georgia, or okay, I might get the name wrong anyway. But it was like on a Facebook article, so bear in mind this could be a very unreliable source. But I saw there was like all these students that there was like a party. The party, okay, so they had an event and there was a party, and the aim was to see who could get COVID first or something. And then you see that mindset, and you see that mindset towards capacity, and like, yeah, capacity can fuck off. But then you look at their numbers compared to the rest of the world, and I mean, if we're not careful, I guess our numbers could rise. And I mean, it doesn't affect a lot of us with the numbers rising, like flu numbers rise, COVID numbers rise, but obviously COVID's different, we don't have a vaccine. But with the numbers rising, it could just mean another hard lockdown. I mean, and when it was hard lockdown, that was pretty cuck. Like, I remember I went out skating in my house, like around my house, and it's a closed off area, like a boomed off area, no people walk around there, nothing. And then like police just happened to drive by, saw me on my skateboard, went boop, and like wanted to arrest me. And like, it took half an hour to kind of talk them out of it. I mean, so Yeah.
Yeah, dude, and like you see, so that kind of example, what happened with you. I mean, I have been seeing a few newspaper articles. Like I know there was a club in Midrand that got bad-mouthed all over the newspaper for not following the regulations. I know Altitude Bar in Four Ways, also the same thing. And like, I mean, come on, like, is that really got to be our headline news? Like, XYZ club owner doesn't apply to COVID regulations, no masks and no whatever. Like, you know, is that really the talk of what's going to happen? And I mean, yeah, like there's so much more worse going on in our economy, and we crippled so much harder than, you know, efforts to be put into shutting down nightclubs and preventing nightclubs from opening.
And I mean, like in a country in South Africa, this whole capacity stuff is affecting jobs, I'm assuming. Like, I mean, I don't have data or figures to prove it, but I mean, I can only imagine the amount of unemployment that's risen, like, due to this, you know. So in a place like South Africa especially, I don't think the capacity, it's sustainable. People are going to get frustrated after a while, as you've seen overseas, and they're going to do what they want, like we just mentioned. That's just like such a tough one. I also don't think the hybrid model works, like the capacity, like the COVID mixed, like for that whole example where you can walk into a restaurant with a mask on and then take it off as soon as you sit down. It doesn't make any sense. This whole thing doesn't make any sense.
No, it literally doesn't. And like, not quite in the nightlife, but a similar thing. I went to the garage 2 days ago to buy smokes, and I got on my car and I walked, and then I realized, oh shit, I don't have a mask. So I pulled my shirt up over my nose and mouth, walked in, and I'm like, hey dude, can I have a box of smokes? And the guy was like, sorry man, I can't serve you unless you have a mask, but if you come to the window I can serve you. So then I walk out, go to the window, buy my smokes, and it's just like,
it makes no sense.
That's it. Like, I understand they're trying to almost
follow rules and regulations,
put a principle in, if we can say it like that. But I mean, you know, don't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, if we're gonna do it, you know, turn around and say to all the nightclubs, guys, shut down, fire all your staff, you know, throw all your booze away. You know, this December you're gonna each lose X amount of money. You know, just write it off. You know, don't say, oh, you can do this, but like if you do this and maybe if you have that, but if
like,
you do,
where's the line? Like, how do we move forward from this inconsistency? For example, like I can go in gym here again, and like to Gym and Planet Fitness, and people are sweating, putting their weights around, mask off, going sweating all over the place and spitting and coughing and drinking from the tap. But no, you're not allowed to go in the stadium. You're not allowed to go have more than 100 people in a nightclub. But this guy just patted me on the back with his sweaty hand. Like,
and he put his sweat all over you. You know, you pick up his weight, scratch your nose now. You know, but you know that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah. No, yeah. I saw Hawk's comment there, just saying nothing is making sense. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. We're gonna reach a point where it's just gonna. I mean, we're frustrated already. Like, I mean, you must be, especially with the music industry. Like, what do you think?
Like, I know if people aren't frustrated by now in terms of the general public and the people that are going out, by December, by New Year's, people will be. And in my situation, like, oh yes, it's very irritating. So I've been trying to plan an open air festival, nice big venue, very chilled. The owners, they're like, you know, this 500 thing makes no sense for anyone. You know, if you want to go over, you're more than welcome to. So I threw down a number. I was like, how about 2,000? They were like, that's fine. Like, you know, we've got a connection in the JOC. We can make a plan, this, that, and that. Cool. I do all my background homework, all my checks. I'm like, shop, ready to go. And now I start approaching sponsors. And I'm sending them my sponsor proposal to every single person, left, right, and center. And so many of them turn around and say, you know, like the idea and the concept is so good, like I would be a part of it, or we would sponsor it, but we can't put our name on something illegal. We can't knowingly put our name on that. And you know, it's just small things like that that are really like getting to me. I can't throw an open air festival for 500 people and expect to make any money if a venue is going to cost me 20 to 30,000 rand.
Yeah, no, like, and that's also like, it's makes you have that feeling of helplessness. Like, there's nothing, you know, that we can do about it, really. I mean, and if you do, like, and you go against the rules, then you know you're the bad guy. But I mean, a lot of you guys are just trying to make a living as well at the same time, which I mean, like, I often don't think about. So yeah, like, I don't see how this is going to be sustainable.
No, I guess from my personal side and with Incognito and, you know, the events that I'm throwing and stuff, I'm just kind of hoping and relying that the general public will, you know, eventually throw their arms up, stomp their feet, huff and puff, and say, like, stuff this, we doing what we want.
Yeah.
And then I can roll out these festivals without having to, oh, sorry bro, you're number 499, last person, sorry, your mate can't come in because he's number 500, or, you know, it's just it's really not feasible for us at the moment.
I remember, this reminds me of that light essay red thing. What happened with that?
I don't actually know. I remember
they
they
had some traction, and then
that's exactly it. I remember there was a very very good marketing and advertising platform or scheme or strategy, should I say, that they had rolled out and started getting it, and everyone had actually got on board. And I'm not sure what happened from there. So anyone watching in the comments, please just drop if you guys know what happened with the light essay red. If any of the guys who are part of it, or the creators or the co-founders, please give us some insight into it. We'd love to know where it went, what happened with it, and you know, if you achieved what you set out to achieve by, you know, starting it. I mean, it was a great initiative.
yeah, because I mean, it just like disappeared. But yeah, I think that's something that should come up again, especially in, you know, December vibes, and I think it'll gain a lot more traction then, because when they started, it was like, I think that was on the back of what, like, people priorities of what people were like, because people were losing jobs and you know, schools weren't open and stuff like that. So I think that's maybe it wasn't the best of times to have started it.
So let's start a new campaign going through December. Hashtag bring red back.
Or Sausagecast. No, I'll work on it.
Hashtag Sausagecast is red.
What's the
light Sausagecast red?
Just a question again. So I saw the sausage at the start. What's the Sausagecast thing for again? Because I saw Sausage Fest once.
Yeah, so basically how we got into that and where it came from was when we started the podcast series, and what we were doing is I used it as a platform to advertise the culture event that I'd started, that I was throwing at Mary Jane's. And then, you know, it kind of developed deeper, and we started getting more interesting themes and more interesting topics. And we decided for the one topic, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks back, we were going to talk about the pandemic of the sausage fest in our country. And just kind of from there, like, the name kind of just rolled out as a Sausagecast. It fits so well. So I went about creating the intro video. I went about making a little logo on the top left. I don't know.
Do you have a little theme song, like an intro song?
Yeah, we've got the intro song. I'll play for you guys again.
Sorry. I do enjoy that. Looks like he's playing with an air guitar.
Don't ask Hawk what he thinks it is, Hockey. Don't you dare comment it in the comment section. But yeah, guys, so anyone who's tuned in, anyone who's watching, anyone who hasn't fallen asleep because they're bored as fuck of what we have to say, people who haven't come and gone because they think we complete dickheads, we'd love to know what you think. Let us know where you stand with the capacity. You know, what your plans are for December, if you're going to go out, if you're leaving, if you're going to the coast. Yeah, we'd love to know. I'd love to have your feedback. You know, it helps us plan and decide, and, you know, put events together for you guys. You know, obviously, like, if everyone's in the stance of capacity can fuck off, then we're going to throw an event where capacity can fuck off. But I mean, if people are still on the fence and people are, you know, law-abiding citizens, which
we should be.
Yeah, we hope. But, you know, personally, I hope, as my brand Incognito, I don't hope. Yeah, let us know. We would love to know what you think.
Yeah, man, it's just, like, it's so unfortunate. It makes no sense. And, like, who knows how long it's going to carry on for, you know, when are we getting a vaccine? I mean, like, what is it, like, 2 months ago, Russia had these vaccines, and now it's like I don't know what to believe anymore with news anymore. Like, you hear one thing and it's like, okay, it's coming up, alright, so this is a new thing, and then all of a sudden either it just disappears or whatever it was bullshit. or on the very rare occasion it happens to be true.
Yeah, it actually got me thinking. So, from let's say thick, heavy lockdown, I was doing live streams every single week. We were doing it from a studio, so every week I was interacting with 4 or 5 new people. Then events started opening up. Through an event, call it 60 people there. Through another one, call it 80. Through another one, call it 50. So in terms of the people that have been around with no face masks and call it no social distancing practices, the chances of me not have gotten COVID is like, the probability is almost next to nothing.
I'm almost 1,000% sure I've got COVID almost 3 times now.
That's
I haven't
the thing.
felt any symptoms. I know a friend of mine felt, and he said he's had like worse flu, but it's so weird because then I hear another guy who said like literally he couldn't taste his food, and he was like actually felt like pretty weak and tired for like a few days. And then I've heard people who have like it's actually like kind of debilitated. So it's like and I mean then half of the people are like asymptomatic who don't show any symptoms, and I mean we must have got it like in the past few weeks that we've gone out. I mean there's absolutely no way, odds like.
I mean, if you look at it in terms of let's call it a statistical probability, there's 2 of us here. Chances are 2 of us have got it and completely asymptomatic. How many people is that actually happening? Like, is the news like lying to us, giving falsehoods to try and make it worse than it is? And I mean, obviously there are people who are getting impacted. I'm not an idiot. There are people that are dying from it. But I mean, what underlying diseases and causes, it's hard to say because now it kind of dabbles into morality, but, would that same person died of the common cold or the flu, the rhinovirus that came around this year, would TB have gotten that person this year? So
yeah, I know COVID's different, you know what I mean, and obviously it's there's no like antibiotic or medicine to fix it like a flu, for example. Completely forgot what I was gonna say. I was in a complete blank.
Dung 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 dung. Okay, I'll retrace your brain. You're saying, it's different. There's no antivirus.
But I think, in the news, like there's an overload of information with regards to COVID that sparks so much anxiety. Like, what? I don't understand the point of waking up every morning and you telling me how many people have died from COVID. Like, I mean,
not getting the news on Tuesday the 14th of November 2016 and they're like, check how many people have died from TB.
It's ridiculous.
And then the number changes the next day.
So that with things like that, I don't understand. I know it's a serious disease, a serious pandemic, and there are people dying and suffering from this disease, but like there is an overload of information, and it's like it was the most used word this year apparently. I saw a speech the other day. It was the most used word, but I mean like just makes no sense. Like it's an overload, and like for example you hear one time that one person contracted it twice, so and then you have some people that say, oh, if you catch it then you can be immune. Then you have some people asymptomatic, and there's just like it's just like so much media overload that it causes more anxiety rather than like comfort, I feel.
Yeah, dude, like you don't actually know. And I mean, technically they're all coming from what we perceive as credible sources, if it's coming from ENCA or if it's coming from whatever it is, we perceive it as credible. But yeah, I mean it is, and then like it comes down to if you think about how the news and how media really operates, like how they get things viral and how they get they call it what's the word it's called, it's like
but also like that fake news is more popular than real news.
They just
like spam it out there.
Well, the thing is they call it I've gone blank now, but it's like anger news or or fury news, or I'll call it that for now. But news and stories and that sort of stuff are more, the probability of it going viral is more likely when it stirs anger or frustration or hatred in a person or emotion, and not just positive emotions. It's mainly negative emotions.
No, agreed. You have to spark like a debate, and
that's exactly it. So like think of like
and it's so easy to get trapped in like that Facebook keyboard warrior, like And it's so like silly because nothing has been accomplished from it, because with those opinions no one's trying to hear your side of the view, they're just trying to portray theirs, and then the guy's like, okay, no, that doesn't make sense, let me show you mine, and the only way one person wins is if they like find a typo from the other guy. Like,
yeah, and then if you kind of go to it and check it, as like, as you said, it's not like productive, constructive back. It's like my viewpoint trumps your viewpoint.
yeah, exactly.
And then the thing is, within 30 seconds to an hour to 2 days, that news article's completely gone, dead, buried, and no one's even talking about it because, you know, now the next article up because, you know, some girl drove over a cricket in her car and now everyone's screaming, you know, blue bloody murder.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then for the little short period, that's news, and then the next thing, and it comes and goes, and it's just, I mean, to me, that takes away the reliability and the credibility of what's actually, you know, happening.
And the problem is there'll be like a majority of people, like I'll include myself, you know, like often the time I'm too lazy to go and find the credible source, so like I'll wait until I find or hear about it through the grapevine that actually that was a reliable source, or it was just complete bullshit, you know.
But it's always so funny because you'll be chatting with your mates, and like your one mate will tell you, you know, like, yeah, X, Y, and Z, and you're like, oh, okay, sweet. And then you go to your next mate and you're like, yo, you know, guys, it's X, Y, and Z, and they're like, whoa, are you dumb, bro? Like, nah, that's not right. And then it puts you in that same spot where you're like, which direction do
exactly.
I turn? Like, do I listen to friend A or do I listen to friend B?
Yeah, man, it's so scary. Also, like, yeah, and then when you have people with, like, a lot of people with the same kind of viewpoint. Well, this has gone. I was trying to like word it back to the Trump-Biden thing, but I don't want to talk about that. I can be all night on that. But yeah, sorry, I was like complete blank there.
This is the Sausagecast. It's not the Trump cast.
Not the Trump cast.
Okay, but yeah, now coming back to the topic of capacity.
Also with that though, like, you know, with like South Africa, and the whole corruption during COVID and the amount that was taken during those tenders and everything, and I feel like having a government that enforcing laws to tell us not to go out after they have stolen, it's a rough word, but yeah, basically taken a lot of money from their own country, and then also it's not as simple as that, I know, but I mean, it's just like so hard to follow rules and regulations in such a country, or like when you govern like this.
It comes to the whole thing of lead by example.
Yeah.
You know, if you driving and you see an officer jump a stop street, like, why are you going to stop at that? If he's not going to lead by example and he's meant to be enforcing the law, you know, why should you? And I know, speaking to like my parents, for example, who've gone to a few different countries, and certain ones where the cops are like the be-all end-all authority, you know, and they abiding by the rules that they enforcing. And then it just makes logical sense, you know, if you're breaking the law, it means you're breaking it. It's not because everyone else is doing it. You know, I know it comes, you know, we can sit here all night and say the government this and the government that, and
that's,
you know, because
like,
then now we got to speak about public transport, and we got to speak about education, and we got to, and you know, there's so much more and so much more.
Yeah, like I know it's like not as simple as it sounds like because of the but I mean, it's still like when you sit there at like on ground level, you're like, man, this makes absolutely no sense. How am I allowed to gym, but I'm not allowed one more person in the club? And what tops it all off is it's been enforced by what feels like a government that doesn't really care.
That's exactly it. It's like the thing of this whole thing that makes absolutely no sense to me is the wear mask on entry. Cool, you wear mask on entry, 5 steps inside, mask comes off, and you know, it's completely forgotten about. And then I actually forget my mask quite a bit, but went out to Katie's Palace the other week, or maybe I shouldn't put names. I went out to Palace of the Katies the other week and forgot my mask. I'd actually lost it in my car. But I got to the front door, and obviously now the bouncer was like, no, sorry, bro, you can't come in. Like, no mask, no entry, all of this stuff. So I'm sitting there.
Makes no sense.
Hock decides, okay, he's gonna go trap the streets and find me a mask. And
No
I'm sitting there just trying to reason with the dude. Hey, bro, I don't want to drive back to Edenville. Like, if I have to, I'll drive back to
Probably got you a
Edenville.
second-hand mask.
The way it gets deeper, the plot thickens. Hock's trapping the streets, trying to look. I'm trying to reason with the dude, and then eventually I'm like, bro, I'm just gonna go in and take my mask off, like, And he's like, okay, go, and just like that, and off I went, and I'm not bad mouthing any of the nightclubs or saying that there's malpractice or mispractice in any of them, but it's the logic that I'm dabbling onto now, and the.
Because also that bouncer, I'm sure when he was like, listen, you have to get a mask, he in his head was like, oh my word, I feel like such a dickhead because this is ridiculous. How can I ask this to do this? So when you said that, he was probably like, okay.
Finally, eventually go, I agree with you. Like, he's sitting in his head, he's probably like, well, why, where's the logic to do this to the guy if as soon as he takes 3 steps and there's masks coming off and he's not wearing it for the rest of the night?
But at the same time, he has to do his job, so it's so...
and then that all falls down to, the government regulations and the restrictions. And, don't get me wrong, yes, I know, obviously... wearing a mask and sanitizing your hands and all of this stuff, even if it only helps 1%, that 1% is still better than 0%.
Don't you find with this virus, all of a sudden hand washing became a big thing as if it shouldn't have been a big thing before?
Yeah. I know, and I was even guilty of it, she's obviously after I go dump and I take a pee, I wash my hands, the usual, but
I was about to say, give me this microphone, bro.
Just give your hands a little lick. But I mean, for the general part, I'd be walking in public, put my hand on the handrail, or sitting on a bench, put my hand down, and I wouldn't wash my hands until, let's say, the next time I showered.
Yeah, that's so true. You're now very aware of the surfaces you touch.
That's it. And actually, funny enough, I was at the beginning of lockdown very heavily.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And now it's come to the point where I'm like,
fuck it,
back to normal, back to square one. So if you guys watching, don't shake my hand.
Yeah. Also, I feel like I go through patches, especially at work. Obviously, I need to. Be sanitized and follow strict protocols, and obviously, but when you're in your own home, and obviously makes a bit of a difference. Well, obviously you don't have many people coming into your house, but still, I go through stages where I feel like I'm very committed to it, and then I go back to being lazy, and all it takes is that one. But like I said, I'm pretty sure I've got it 5 times now.
Yeah, I mean, it also comes back to the whole if you think about the beginning of lockdown, the whole mind frame. What's he saying? Corona made me wash my hands the first time. I'm not shaking your hand ever again. Yeah, so if you think about it, coming to the beginning of lockdown, where it was the whole elbow bump and everyone was doing that, and now there's nothing else. What's up, China? You're hugging people, you high fives, and and I mean.
Also, with the elbow bump, they were cough in your elbow and then
and then bump.
So many things,
And I know, and it's gonna get quite obviously us sitting here and talking, we're not at the stance of guys, don't wash your hands and cough in your hand and shake people's hands.
No, very much.
Corona doesn't exist, so do whatever the fuck you want. We're not saying that at all. We don't want to be confused with that. We just dabbling on the logic of certain regulations and the reality of what's actually happening, and kind of why is it being imposed. So don't mistake us and think that we COVID doesn't exist and fuck the government and let's go back to normal. And personally from my side, I still do follow certain guidelines that the government has put out. If I'm walking in a public place, if I'm going into a shopping mall, I put my face mask on. I go into a restaurant, sanitize. Walk in and take it off, and then then in my head the logic is what was the point of this?
It's just too much. Makes absolutely no sense. It's just inconsistency makes no sense. I mean, I still don't get it. You have stadiums that are empty, but I could go to gym and there's a guy spitting on me right next to me, right, sweating on me, and then I go onto his bench full of sweat, but that's okay, the gyms can open, or for example the restaurants can open as long as you come into the restaurant with a mask. All good, lacquer, cool, sweet. Then once you're in the restaurant, COVID free all of a sudden. But no, and you're allowed to go in an airplane now, but you can't go into the stadium. You can't have more than 100 people in the club. Yeah, bro. Like, I think even the Uber drivers have given up. When I came to your house, I mean, the guy he didn't forgot his mask. He's just like, just get in, bro. Just don't just forget about it.
Yeah, because as we've mentioned already, and as we touched on, it's just the logic and the inconsistency of all of it that's now starting to make. I wouldn't say starting to make me question, but it definitely is starting to make me kind of, let's call it like, not apprehensive, but lazy, like, whereas before I would have been a lot stricter and I would have been, on myself and been a lot more mindful. Now when you kind of see the general mass of what's going on and you compare it to the regulations that are put in place, you kind of think this is complete shit. Like, why are we actually doing this?
And I feel like the nerve of the government of this taking so much to ask me not to go. Just like, if I like, for example, if I'm like 100 number, or if I'm like number 100 in that line going into a club, or 101 and there's a limit of 100, like, I mean, how do you look that person in the eye and tell him, how do you go to sleep that night? Get out. Where there's one person, like, I mean, yeah, there's just so many.
Yeah, and I do understand, let's say it's the concern from the point, like, obviously now if all of a sudden every single club's got 1,000 people and it's squashed packed to the brim, like, chances are things aren't going to be going, so smoothly. But, I think better than, let's say, doing a capacity should be according to like a ventilation system, for example. So, certain clubs that have an inside-outside area, instead of making the whole place 50% capacity, try and condone people to be outside more than they are inside. If that means setting up an extra bar outside and making your bar inside smaller, small things like that are more logical and more conducive to moving forward. Instead of 100 people, sorry brother, you're 101, get out of here.
It's like the regulations are unrealistic. I mean, but at the same time, like I mentioned before, like for example in America, where you had those frat parties where they were like, okay, who's the first to get COVID, cool, and you see their numbers now, and obviously the deaths and everything, and obviously we don't want to get to a similar situation like mentioned before, but I mean,
but
makes no sense,
in the sense of like what my dad always tells me is like, you can't fix stupid. So, those are the people, let's say who gets corona first. When the next dumb thing comes out, like who can jump out of a car on a highway and get the least hurt, those are the same idiots that are going to be doing that.
But I feel like the problem is as well though with those ones, because they're like young and the virus doesn't affect them, it's like, okay, because it doesn't affect me, I don't care. And then because of that, it indirectly affects someone else. But at the same time, we should have a place where we have a hybrid model where we don't have people being ridiculous like that, but we can have a situation where we can like have some sort of sanitizing regulations and some sort of social distancing, but also enjoy the club at the same time. But when I went out last week to Greenhouse, I mean, it's all good on paper. Oh, I shouldn't mention the name, sorry. Nothing.
House of the Green Place.
I mean, Captain Chunky Cheese. When I went there, like, I mean, all those laws and rules and regulations are all good to have on paper, but when you go out to any place, you don't see it. You don't. It's like it doesn't exist.
That's exactly it. It's on paper. If you're good on paper, you're fine. Then then all of a sudden, and I mean, it comes. I mean, it's just the logic that's kind of getting to me now, and we're in a limbo period, especially from an event organizer's perspective of, where can we do and what can we do and how can we make things different while we can't now, because all of this requires capital input. But what's the point of putting capital input if you're only making 50% of what you potentially could? Then it's almost impossible to revolutionize a new model of doing something.
I think at the same time though, like, although this capacity is shit and it does need to in some way fuck off, we do also need to be careful. We need to have that like I see that comment today, so experts say second wave might only hit SA next year. Like you see how they said in Europe and stuff this year, like it's true. Like I mentioned earlier with Japan, they follow rules and regulations to the T when the government asks. When the government asks, they do as they follow, and as you can see their numbers, it's like a representation of that. But you see Western countries, they don't really follow those regulations, especially younger groups, and be like, alright, fuck it, I'm young, I do what I want. they obviously don't think that. I mean, it's probably more innocent than that. But I mean,
okay, put it this way, like Europe hit their second wave as winter came. So do you not think we're going to hit our second wave as we go back into winter, and then, you know, Europe's going to be out of their second wave, and then it's going to come next year, December, and they're going to hit their third wave. So, and then in the essence, it's not waves, if we can call it that. It's just what happens with every virus, with every flu virus every year. When winter comes and people huddle together and spaces become confined, and, you know, you don't open windows when you drive, this virus is going to spread more. So, I mean, coming to what Merc Mode said there, like, you know, is even calling it like a second wave, is that even fair? Like, surely we just call it the COVID season. Guys, we're back on COVID season. Make sure you wash your hands and wear your masks.
I think we can call it COVID season where we get like a vaccine or like an antibiotic, or not an antibiotic, it's a virus. I mean, like, a vaccine or like some sort of medication. Then we can be like, okay, it's COVID season, and we can take like a flu shot like you would. You can take a COVID shot like you would for a flu shot. And I think apparently that's what this first vaccines would kind of be like. I don't take my word for this, but it's like it'll be only like 50-60% effective, which is similar to like a flu jab. But I think only when that comes again, then we can start to say it's COVID season, and now we can treat it as a flu. Because at the moment, like, we can't really treat it as a flu because there's nothing to fight it off.
Yeah. Okay, guys, well, we're coming to that time where we got to start wrapping it up. Got a few more things to say, but yeah, thanks guys for all the comments there. Some really good feedback. I know we didn't reply to all of them, but we do see them, we do take note, and we do mention them.
Tinners is the filthiest place on earth.
Tinners. But yeah, let's move forward with what else we got. So as you guys know, or you should know, and if you don't, you better go and make yourself aware and familiar. 21st of November, we have got the last culture event for 2020. It's happening at the usual Sposie at Mary Jane's. No, it's 21st of November, not this weekend, not next weekend, the following weekend. Doors open 2 o'clock, close 10:30. There's the lineup, as you can see. Got some pretty sick DJs. Just going to make mention of this again. Guys, this is the last one we are doing of 2020. So we would love for all of you to come through, all of you to show support, show some face. Tickets are available from Howler. They are 80 Rand pre-sale on the day. Ladies free before 4. 100 Rand for all you ugly dudes out there before 4. And then 150 after 4 o'clock for everyone. So yeah, guys, get your pre-sale tickets. It also secures your spot at the venue. You know, once we hit capacity, we will be closing the doors. I say that on paper, but
you know,
I mean, yeah, obviously, if the owners turn around, you know, and say, guys, capacity, no more people in, then unfortunately you aren't coming in. So make sure you get your pre-sale ticket to secure your spot. If you guys haven't seen what it looks like, have a look at this video. It'll give you the full gist of it. Here was what went down at the last culture. Yeah, guys, so it is a really sick venue. I would recommend that you all come through, especially for those of you who haven't been. I mean, you can ask Judd. He came to the first culture. He had himself a time. So yeah, guys, please come through. Please come and support us. Help us out in these trying times. And it is a jewel. Like, you know, I'm not just coming here with my hands out as a beggar. You know, there is value for money in it.
Yeah, you'll have a good time. It was lekker the last time. Is the guy with the drums going to be there as well?
Yeah, Grizz and I going back to back. Okay,
awesome.
Cool, guys. And to end this off, one of my favorite parts of the podcast is the underrated DJ of the week shout out. This week, my vote goes to Mr. Kivan Pile, known as K-Links. If you guys haven't seen him, go check him out. He plays at a few of our events. Yeah, he's got some potential. This guy is got some bangers. But yeah, I see Merc Mode would love to come through. Please do, man. It is really, really sick. Got some cool DJs, cool vibe, 420 friendly cafe. Bring your weed, bring your bongs, bring your cookies, bring your mates, bring your grandparents, your parents and your cousins, and come through and have a jewel, guys.
Bring their weed.
I told them to bring their weed. Yeah, guys. Well, yeah, that about wraps it up for us here on our side. I just want to say a huge thank you to all you guys who tuned in, who watched, who listened to us talking cuck, who stayed with us for the whole time. I hope you guys enjoyed. It was quite an interesting conversation. Nice topic. Even from my side speaking, I'm still on the fence. Like, emotionally, I'm sitting with fuck capacity, but logically I'm sitting at, okay, shit, it could go wrong if we all start thinking like that. So, yeah, just a huge thanks to Juddles for joining our first guest appearance. We'll definitely be having him back on the show.
Thanks for having me, bro. Really appreciate it. It was lots of fun. I was really nervous at first, but it's been awesome.
Okay, cool, guys. Everyone have a lacquer evening. We'll catch you guys soon.